because you too.
It's where the poop is.
YouTube poop is, broadly, a heavily Dadaist form of modern art and a method of low-level culture jamming, viewed through a 21st century media absurdist lens. I'll elaborate on that in a little bit, but first, YouTube poops, or YTPs, are remixes of existing videos, films, or advertisements, generally taking innocuous source material and chopping it up to add crass, non-sequitur-based humour, deliberate and extreme destructive editing practices, and an obscuring or removal of the media's original meaning. YouTube may be where the poop is, but it wasn't always. Indeed, YouTube poop is generally agreed upon to have started in 2004 with "I'd Say He's Hot on Our Tail," a fan edit of the Super Mario Bros. Episode Recycled Koopa.
Koopa, that's... Wow! I'd say he's hot on our tail!
Observant viewers will note that this is the year before YouTube launched, meaning that YouTube poop predates its titular platform by at least several months. This isn't particularly surprising, as the general elements of YouTube poop are things that have been floating around in the media noosphere for decades at least. The concept of editing a previously non-satiristic video into something humorous and absurd had notably been addressed in academia all the way back in the late 1970s with Dara Binbaum's video Technology/Transformation, Wonder Woman. Despite the vaguely stuffy description that was academically required to cement it as a transgressive piece of modern art, Technology Transformation was fundamentally an absurdist re-edit of a television show into something that would be incomprehensible to a contextless viewer. While a lot of modern art can be similarly challenging, this particular video is interesting in the way it bears editing hallmarks of the YTP genre that would not be considered lowbrow until decades later. If you watch it next to "I'd Say He's Hot on Our Tail," the usage of looping and rapid cuts between disconnected sequences is pretty strongly reminiscent. While there are no real jokes in the Wonder Woman edit, one could also say this about the latter Super Mario video. Did one inspire the other? It's possible, but not likely. One of YouTube's most prolific and long-tenured poopers, Noise Puppet, conducted a Q&A livestream in which he posited,
I think that human beings just sort of naturally chop up all these audiovisual presentations in their own heads and rearrange them in a way that suits them.
This suggests some kind of inclination for at least a small subset of people to remix social interactions or prominent media pieces with direct intent to hijack the process of meaning-making. In fact, Noise Puppet goes on to all but directly state that his often extremely vulgar catalogue of YouTube poops are a direct attempt at culture jamming.
This company fucking sucks.
It sounds fucked.
Yes, they're fucked.
I think that I would always want to resist mass culture and advertising and commercial culture by taking their productions and chopping them up and making something else out of them, even if it's like these old sort of schoolyard parodies we used to sing when we...
If this is indeed something that's intrinsic to the human condition, one may wonder why it's only just now popular, and the answer to that is probably multifaceted, but one significant element is that until very recently, video editing was a massively expensive, time-consuming, and difficult process. A mere 40 years ago, extensive editing of any kind of media, be it visual or otherwise, was not accessible by the vast majority of the population. In the 21st century, the ubiquity of editing software gave rise to an ultra-transient culture based around highly edited media, generally comprised of popular memes. I use meme in the literal sense here, as a term for an idea that is evaluated and goes through a process describable as natural selection. This internet culture is what I refer to as 21st century media absurdism. In other words, meme culture. Dadaist media without the academic justifications. Abstract art crossing the artistic blood-brain barrier into a purely vibe-based meme pool. We can then describe YouTube poop as an intersection of these three concepts: Dadaism, culture jamming, and 21st century media absurdism. Consider this Venn diagram. For Dadaist art, we consider its tenured academic history along with its deconstruction of meaning. Indeed, a central tenet of Dadaist art is about deconstructing meaning into nonsense, right down to its name being essentially a nonsense word. It's also considered a fairly transgressive art form still, which is something that it shares with culture jamming. In direct contrast to Dadaism, however, culture jamming is political by definition. It's a way of reconstructing the meaning contained in an existing message, generally from an authority. It's primarily a form of activism that occurs in populated public spaces, and as Noise Puppet suggests, there may be a fundamental part of the human psyche that tends towards reconstructing authoritative messaging in this way. Culture jamming is also well known for its usage of vulgar or shocking messaging to grab attention, particularly in an anti-consumerist or an anti-authoritarian context, where billboards might be vandalized or a corporate event may be infiltrated. In this fashion, it's directly connected to 21st century media absurdism. Unlike culture jamming, however, media absurdism largely eschews defined meaning for a far wider celebration of the awesome creative power afforded to individuals in an increasingly interconnected world. The rapid Overton window shifting that accompanied the inception of meme culture led to a massive spike in the popularity of sheer absurdity, and like most pre-21st century cultural movements, it's often impossible to ascertain the exact source of most popular image macros outside of a rough time of origin. Linking back to Dadaism, media absurdism will often deconstruct and sometimes violently destroy meaning through total non sequitur. In the center of these three cultural movements sits the YouTube poop as a medium. It is well known for obscuring an intended meaning while imposing surreal and frequently vulgar ideas onto a canvas of formally authoritative or official statements.
Everything in here is the kind of shit that's been supported by young people with small dicks,